Sometimes people wonder, like, okay, that's cute, you're a teenager, you're writing some poems, but where is poetry going to take you in the world, you know? At some point you'll get over that. I'm 33 years old and I ain't got over it yet. And poetry has been a compass that I follow, and I used to travel all the time, and I haven't for 2 years. But I was thinking about the traveling that I used to do, and the lessons I learned from it, and the lessons I learned from having poetry be the compass I follow. And there's a true story that I thought I'd end with today, so that when you're thinking about where poetry lives and where we look for it and where we might find it, maybe you can remember this story. The monks who are waiting at my gate at JFK might not be monks, but they are all wearing orange robes, orange sandals. They are rolling orange carry-on bags, and one of them even has an orange neck pillow already on his shoulders in preparation for this flight to Dallas. I know the rules about photographing people you don't know, but forgive me, I snapped the shot so I can send it to my mother and make her day. My mother won't say that she gave up photography to raise children, but it is true that she used to be a professional printer with a life of image making, and then stopped to fill her arms with babies, and then toddlers, and then children, and then the things teenagers handed her when we refused to be held any longer. You might think that a woman who spent hours inhaling chemicals and grueling over various sinks and under various lights to create a perfectly balanced image would begrudge a technology that imitates it. But you haven't met my mother. This is a woman who loves New York more than she loves any human alive or dead. Every day, she walks through the same shitty city as the rest of us. But when I return with a mouth full of complaints about the weather, the subways, the tourists, she remains an endless scroll of wonders, of the things she insists could only happen in New York. So when my best friend James teaches her to use the app we all use, she isn't mad, but amazed. This would have taken so much work in the dark room, she says. Now it's like a button. It's like magic. When James and I were little, his favorite color was orange, and my mother loved this fact, found it strange and marvelous. This little boy willing to forego Power Rangers or fire trucks, claiming the untouched reject of the crayon box, preferring the traffic cone, the citrus fruit. In order to practice using the app and get her photography sea legs under her again, she photographs orange objects around the house and on the street. She only has 2 followers, James and me, but every caption is the same, orange for James. And she wanders the city as wide-eyed as always, stopping strangers with, "Excuse me, I noticed your wonderful orange bag, your hat, your construction vest. That's my nephew's favorite color. May I photograph it?" Never mind that he isn't her nephew. Never mind that this makes him sound 6 and not 30, which he is. This is the way she has always moved through New York in search of bright morsels she can bring home to share. In Dallas, I wait for my bag at the carousel, and a man in a corduroy jacket approaches, asks me if I am Sarah Kay. When I say yes, he says, "My priests know your poetry, and they thought that it was you." Motions over his shoulder to the men in orange behind him. But when I wave, he says, "I'm sorry. Because of their religious vows, they are not permitted to communicate with someone of your gender. But they told me to tell you that they wish you continued success." Days later, an email through my website reads, "We hope to have not offended you by not meeting in person to appreciate your work, and also pray that your poetry lights up minds, smiles, and souls of all those searching for meaning. That your beauty with words be not just a trained art, but a reflection of who you wish to be." And then an offering of a poem in Sanskrit that roughly translates, "On bearing fruits, trees bend, become humble with newly gathered water, clouds hang very low. This is the nature of the benevolent." I used to think this was a story about coincidence, or a story about the invisible thread of poetry that so many people are holding on to, even and especially people who may not have anything else in common. But I actually think it is a story about my mother, how she didn't have to take a photograph for 30 years to make a camera of a daughter, or at least teach her that the way you notice can be a weapon or an act of love, that color blooms through every city, whether you see it or don't, whether you seek it or don't. So why not seek? Why not see? Why not ask yourself, who am I looking for?